Welcome to the Gracie Academy. My name is Hidon, my brother Henner. We are the creators of the Gracie Bullyproof program. Usually when you see us on YouTube, we're breaking down UFC championship matches. Professional fighters, Randy Couture, Jake Shields, Brock Lesnar, GSP, Anderson Silva, whoever, breaking it down. But today we're breaking down something much more important than any UFC fight will ever be. We need to talk about this bullying epidemic that is sweeping the nation and the world. Last week, one of our students sent us a video of this very highly publicized incident of bullying that took place in Australia between two middle school kids. One of the kids, the victim, was named Casey, and the bully in that situation was named Richard. Casey is much, much bigger than Richard. For those of you who haven't seen the video, Casey's probably what, 50 pounds heavier at least? And Casey was supposedly the victim. Supposedly the bigger kid was getting bullied for several years on end, right? All the video shows is this incident where Richard, this much smaller kid, like half his size it seemed like. Casey's a big kid, 15-year-old, strong kid, and much taller. Richard comes up while his friends are videotaping the situation with the camera. He's over here, grabs his shirt, and just punches him. Boom, just hits him in the face, for no reason. No reason that we see on camera. Jumps back, tries again, he blocks once. Boom! The second time, third time, he hit him in the stomach. The fourth time, he stepped in to go for the shot. He rushed the kid, Richard. Casey got him by the body like this. He picked him up over his head. And then dropped him. Didn't just drop him. Slammed him upside down on his skull, straight into the cement.
You laughing at ya?
Go, Richard, go. Wow, this is getting sad, bro. Look, guys, just keep recording. Keep recording. Look at that. Who's that in the background?
Now, everyone wants to know what our opinion is on this situation, being that we have this program called Bullyproof, that we empower children. Thousands of children have come to us who've been victim of bullying, and we've helped them overcome. We've even had bullies come to us, and we've helped them as well. But they want to know what the opinion is on the situation. And the answer is, we're extremely proud, first and foremost, of Casey for standing up for himself. 100%. Perfect. That's our goal. Our goal, our building, our life, our family is dedicated to helping the victims stand up for themselves. And the torment. So now, the right thing. So Richard's not going to bug Casey anymore. Now there was an interview that took place though. After this whole incident went down and the video went viral, interview went place, they interviewed Casey, and then later they interviewed Richard in Australia. And they asked Casey, how long have you been getting bullied for? He said years, I don't know, 10, 15 years. As long as his whole life, he can remember, he was getting tripped, slapped in the back of the head, pushed. And then the interviewer asked, said, hey, why do you think they choose you? He never retaliates. He admitted that the reason he was targeted was he never retaliated in any way. He would just accept it. So the bullies love this. They walk around, they're like, yeah, boom, push, kick, shove. Yeah, they walk down, feel like, I beat up that big kid, I pushed that big kid. Now look at me. That must mean that I'm even bigger. It feels good for the bully to push somebody. Yes.
They walk around and makes them feel happy. That's their little bit of happiness in the day when they slap somebody else.
Yes. Now, what's so crazy is they asked Casey, how does that make you feel, this whole situation? How does it make you feel? And he said, well, it felt terrible. For all the years that I was getting bullied, so much so that a year prior to this incident, he contemplated suicide. That was the low point of the situation. So what ended up happening is there was this buildup of anger, and then finally he retaliated in a way that was all he knew how to do. He retaliated with the information and skills that he had, which was nothing really but strength, picking people up and slamming them on the head.
Now, imagine a situation where a child is maybe a couple years older, and he might have access to some kind of weapons.
Oh, yes.
So now he'll be able to retaliate at a much more serious level.
School shootings.
Forget slamming. Take the weapon to school, take the knife to school.
Yeah, so crazy. So we're very glad, even though he almost cracked this kid's skull on the ground and almost paralyzed him, we're very glad that Casey didn't retaliate another year later, shoot up the whole school, and then everyone thinks he's the perpetrator, the assailant, the bad guy now, when really he's just releasing the energy and the negative energy that's built up for so long. So it was very bad retaliation in terms of how it went down, but it could have been much, much, much worse. So that was his release valve to do that. Now,
there are millions of kids that are getting bullied every day and have no release valve.
yes.
They're getting these slaps to the back of the head right now as we speak. And you know, the same way Casey's father, they asked him, how'd you feel when you watched the video? He said, I was shocked.
Right.
I had no idea this was happening.
His own father didn't know Casey was getting bullied.
So what that means is if he didn't know, there are other parents out there that have no idea.
Millions of parents. Now, why doesn't the kid tell the parent?
Well, because the kid's a little bit afraid to tell the parent. Maybe they told the parent one time, and the parent said, yeah,
Stand up for yourself.
Stand up for yourself. It's going to be okay, honey. Just don't worry about it. So it's almost like the child feels like it's their fault for not standing up for themselves.
Yes.
So now they feel guilty for telling the parents. They keep it quiet.
So then they don't say anything, and it builds up for years. Now, when the parent correctly says, child, stand up for yourself, they understand something. They understand that if the child just stands strong, the bully will almost always back off.
The child
But here's the problem. Yes, here's the problem. At the root of any child's inability to stand up to the bully, even verbally, is a profound fear for their personal safety. That's the founding principle of the Gracie Bullyproof program. So, based on that information, if they're paralyzed by fear for personal safety, our philosophy is give a child the physical means to defend themselves and avoid getting beat up or pushed and beat up and punched and beat up by the bully, so that if ever physically challenged, they know they have the means to stay safe, neutralize the attack. Once you eliminate personal fear or the fear of personal safety being jeopardized, then guess what? They can stand strong. So the more a child learns how to defend themselves in a non-violent way, the less likely they are to ever have to use it, because they can assert themselves and no longer be targeted. Why did so much anger come out of Casey at that moment? Build up. If Casey would have responded 5 years earlier, he might have just said, hey man, chill out. Why are you saying that to me, dog? Why you come up and push me for no reason? And trust me, he had the strength and the size to do that whenever he wanted, but he didn't. And because he was scared for some reason of what might happen to him.
And he had the strength and the size to do what he did. Most kids out there right now are smaller than the bully. So therefore, what Casey did right now isn't even reasonable.
Yes.
You got millions of kids watching this, and like, this is great. He stood up for himself, but what did he just do? He hulked the kid. You know what I mean?
So he won. Look at the disadvantage. Now imagine when Casey goes back to school, kids are still going to make fun of him. Maybe some bigger kids 2 years down the road who never met him are going to say, what's up, Casey, and punk him and get in his face. What's he going to do then? He can't body slam someone who's bigger than him. He has to have technique to know that even against a larger kid, he barely stood up against himself against a smaller kid, half his size. Yeah. Imagine a larger kid. He needs something more real than a body slam that is totally unrealistic against someone much larger than you.
And what's more real than a body slam?
Gracie Jiu-jitsu.
Gracie Jiu-jitsu.
The Gracie Bullyproof program. You guys, it's so real. Now, as a switch topic here, Richard, the actual, in the situation, the bully in the situation, we call it, was interviewed after the whole situation. And the interviewer asked Richard, why did you do it? Have you been bullied as a kid? He said, yes. I was a bully too. I was bullied by other kids. Which verifies our belief that bullies are not born. Richard wasn't born harassing other people. He learned that from his family, maybe, from his friends, from other kids who bullied him in the previous years. And so all he's doing is taking his negative energy, redirecting it to someone he feels is the least likely to resist, target. In other words, the path of least resistance was Casey. Even though he was huge, it didn't matter. He wouldn't retaliate.
Richard probably saw somebody else slap Casey and said, you know what? I'm in need of that myself.
Yes, let me build myself a little.
And for all we know, what Richard was being called his whole life could have been, you know, a toothpick.
Yeah.
And because of that, just being called a toothpick, something as simple as that can still create so much negativity in the kid that, there we are, Major, creates a bully. So really there are no bullies, there are only victims.
There are only victims, and they just, you know, they shift roles from time to time. Sometimes they're the one aggressing, sometimes they're the one receiving. Don't get me wrong, even Casey himself, after all that harassment and his newfound confidence, could easily go down the wrong path and now start abusing his power against someone else. Not that we're saying it's going to happen, but we're saying that's how bullies are born. They're abused, then they're given an opportunity to abuse someone else, and it pays right forward. So we'd like to bully-proof Casey.
What does that mean?
Here's what we'd like to do. We'd also like to bully-proof Richard.
Wow.
Because they're both victims of societal forces and the circumstances that surround them. We want to bring both of them to California, here at the Gracie Academy headquarters, to participate in a 1-week bully-proof intensive camp under the direct guidance and coaching of Hidon and myself. There's too much at stake for both of them. For Casey, we need to make sure that going forward, if he ever has to stand up for himself, he doesn't do it in a way that breaks someone's skull, breaks their neck, or kills someone, because he is a very strong kid, that now he has to go to jail for the rest of his life for just letting out his energy.
And that's assuming the person, the bully, is smaller.
Yes.
But the bully won't be smaller.
If Casey gets bullied by someone bigger in the future, he doesn't have the answer.
We do.
And Richard, we also want you to come down for this bully-proof camp to ensure that going forward, number one, you realize that true power is not in abusing your power. There's no greater would-be bullies on the planet than Hidon and me. We can tie one arm and choke virtually anyone on the street whenever we feel like it. Why don't we? Because we've learned growing up that the truest power is the respect, the humility. The truest power is that which is contained and used for the right reason and not abused. And we believe that if we can get Richard out here to hang out with us for a little while, he'll feel the same way. He'll realize what true power is about, not by going up to someone, punching him in the face when they're not going to defend themselves, punch him in the stomach, and then run away, which he anticipated doing but didn't get away with it. That's not true power. It's the respect and humility.
Now, the chances of Richard and Casey wanting to come here are very slim, right?
We have to get them over.
Our family created the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Yes.
This room right here, professional fighters, us fighting all day in here, it seems a little intimidating.
However,
For all they know, we're going to bully them the day they walk in here. But that's the least of our concerns. All we want to do is share what we know and help 100%. There's no bad intentions.
yes,
It's only to help make both of you just
connect
to the next level.
Friends out there, if you're watching this, help us get this video in Casey and Richard's hands. Make sure they see this somehow. And Casey, Richard, if you guys see this, call the Gracie Academy, connect with us, we'll make it happen. We'll bring you guys out here for a week training camp together. Okay? And we believe that through the techniques, through the connection, through the camaraderie, and through the respect, the discipline, and the ultimately the techniques and the growth that you experience here,
The level of understanding between the two of you is going to change.
we can send you guys back on the same plane.
Same plane, sitting together.
And you guys go back there, you will never be bullied again. And if it does, you're going to put an end to it soon so it never gets out of hand. And you're never going to bully anyone again. Because you're going to realize there's a better way. Clear?
Clear.
Guys, we hope to meet you one day. And everyone else out there, help us get this in their hands. We'll be very grateful. Thank you.